is the quantum reset. Now, to control your results in life or your strokes in your sports, is you have to control your state. Now, what do you think is one of the keys to controlling your state?
You know this is what you really want to do. It's clear to you. But what about the data? How do you measure the data? How did they come to the conclusion to you measuring see the result of this idea that it actually worked?
The Heaven is for Real experience, where I learned life is a gift. Each and every one of us is born with unique gifts and for greatness. The question with God asked me is, Joy, have you fulfilled yours? Or I get chills when I share this. I was 20 years old at that time. I said, Father, I'm not done.
Dr. Joy, thank you so much for being here. Could you tell the people who you are? Let's start from there.
My goodness. Well, okay, I am Dr. Joy Macci, founder and CEO of The Joy of Sport, The Joy of Pickleball, and The Joy of Quantum Sports. The key things, I'm kind of known as a global pickleball pioneer, a sports performance innovator, and a human performance accelerator. What I help people do is win in sports, business, and life. You know, what I do, I live in the United States, but I have done programs internationally. You know, things in Dubai, things in Europe, things in, all of Mexico, Dominican Republic. So the key thing is helping people reach their highest level of performance in all areas of life and align their God-given gifts and greatness.
Why do you think people come to you, Dr. Joy? Let's put it like that.
They come to me. A lot of that is, a lot of times people go to certain points where they're stuck. They feel like they want to get to that next level or to be their highest level, whether they're working for an Olympic gold medal, they're being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or whatever, they're having challenges. And this is where everyone needs to learn to uniquely align what they're doing, align their unique gifts and greatness into their areas of expertise. And a lot of times as we go into different areas, we have certain challenges that we don't realize that are kind of holding us back from the next level. And when you understand how to address these little blocks, you can move forward in different ways.
We need to unblock what is holding us back so we can move forward. That made me remember, I think it was Les Brown who was saying it one time, that sometimes we want to move, we maybe put it in the fastest gear, but we leave our handbrake up, then you are accelerating. The car is not moving. Because you haven't released your handbrake. Sometimes there are things that are holding us back. Sometimes we don't know.
We have conscious and subconscious things that are affected. What most people don't realize, that 97% of all human behavior is controlled subconsciously and only 3% consciously. And most people put 100% of their effort into the conscious, which is the 3%. They forget to take a look at the subconscious, which is actually controlling a majority of their life.
How do we unblock it so that it can work for us? Because now, if we just leave everything on the conscious level, which is actually very superficial and actually quite shallow, as it were, we are never going to go anywhere. How do we begin to unblock it, unlock it, so that we can really blossom with all the potential that we have, tapping into our subconscious? Can you tell me more about that?
Oh, absolutely. What I do in my quantum leadership type program, or the quantum pickleball, is one thing. I've got a new book coming out very soon, where we teach you how to train the brain to master the game, to play quantum and live limitlessly in sports, business, or life. And the key thing on that, there's 5 different phases. The first phase is the quantum reset. Now, to control your results in life or your strokes in your sports, is you have to control your state. Now, what do you think is one of the keys to controlling your state? There's one simple way, and that is with your breath. At the highest level, the brain function at the gamma state, which is 40 hertz. And that is, you look at the state where Olympic gold medalists, that's where your Grand Slam champions, that's where your genius IQ business leaders of all time live at the highest levels when they're performing at the highest levels. And a fun, simple way to do that is what we call the gamma breath. You want to do it with me right now? I'll see if you can experience it a little bit. First thing you do is inhale for 4. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do one more set. Normally, I encourage people to do 4 sets, but let's go. Inhale 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, no breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, notice, how do you feel a little different?
That's
Most
beautiful.
players,
That's beautiful,
you're going to
SK.
feel a little calmer, a little more centered. When you do like 4 breaths, I encourage my clients to do that. Do 4 rounds of that, and when you do it, count it on your fingers. You're doing it because what happens when you count them on your fingers, you lock in the opposite brain. Then you do the second set on the other hand. Right hand, left hand. What you're doing when you're doing the movement with the fingers of that, you're also tying in the brain, different levels and different parts of the brain. So what's nice, if you control your state, you start controlling your life. So that's phase 1 of the quantum way.
Wow, that is truly beautiful. So, how did you come up with this quantum potential?
It's a little bit of 40 years of my work. When the last 4 years, sports have been my life. When Rick and I ran Macci International Tennis Academy, and we had the pleasure of training a lot of the young tennis proteges, including Serena and Venus Williams, Andy Roddick, Jennifer Briotti, when they were up and coming in their times. And the neat thing was to learn, you see players at all levels, like from young superstars to working with business leaders in the executive world, working with people that are going through everyday challenges. What I've done is combine my 30 to 40 years of coaching experience. And what I did with the quantum performance type thing is combining neuroscience, performance psychology, and quantum flow training. Because everyone wants to get into the quote zone or the this flow zone. When you are performing at that level, you're performing at your highest level with ease, grace, and flow.
Is it like one day you sat down and you wrote down that we're going to create a quantum performance a methodology? Or is it that after you've been doing it, you went and researched what you'll be doing and you came up with this name, with this codification, if you want to call it like that? Tell me more about that.
Okay, no, you're right. It's kind of digging deep. Well, it's kind of, there's a lot of different pillars that went through that. I mean, anything for myself, I was a tennis international tennis junior player. They were wanting to go onto the pro tour, and then had a life-threatening head injury in college, where 1 minute I'm number 1 on the tennis team at the University of Arkansas. 15 minutes later, I'm rushed into intensive care, hooked up, to life support, coming in and out of comas, speaking in numbers, not words. And during that time, I have an is for real experience where I learned life is a gift. Each and every one of us is born with unique gifts and for greatness. The question was, God asked me, says, Joy, have you fulfilled yours? Or I get chills when I share this. I was 20 years old at that time. I said, Father, I'm not done. He lovingly gestured me back and said, Joy, you were given your name for a reason. Your mission is to find out why. So blessed with a second chance at life. Name, divine purpose, and life passion is to live, give, and share joy in the world, others, and align their God-given gifts and greatness. So that's kind of how I'm ticked. So that's, and also overcoming head injury where the weight was 98 pounds, didn't know who I was, where I was from being an elite athlete, and rebuilding to work with the brain, how to figure out how to heal the brain a little bit. So I learned a bit there. Then going on to coach the young superstars, then going on to having my own companies. And just through all of the years, these things kind of merged. And then finally, I would say in the last year or so, in the last couple of years, things started lighting up like, oh my gosh, these like puzzle pieces were all there that I had learned through the years. Now it's time to really put that puzzle together. And that's what I've done with the quantum performance.
That is interesting now.
That's interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, tell me about the validation of this methodology, because now you know this is what you really want to do. It's clear to you. But what about the data? How do you measure the data? How did they come to the conclusion to you measure it, see the result of this idea that it actually worked? Tell me more about that.
Well, of how it works. I mean, this is where, again, it goes back to years of training and coaching and different things. Another example, when I was honored to be asked to be an adjunct professor at the University of Dallas. Next thing I know, I'm flown to New York, and our students are 10 executive sports leaders from the National Basketball Association, the Women's Tennis Association, the World Wrestling Entertainment, and a University of Florida adjunct professor. I mean, but a university of professor. And what we were doing with the PADS Leadership Academy was the Professional Association of Athletic Development Specialists. It was a 1-year MBA level training, executive certification. We, offered through the University of Dallas. And, it's like you really get to see at the highest levels, these high level executive sports leaders, how they could implement these leadership skills and training. Then what's fun is for me seeing when you add that to your coaching that you're adding, whether you're working with business executives that are working through it, they're using sports as their fun pastime, but they're using the skills that you're teaching in their boardrooms and in their, in their businesses, or the other type situations where you have people that are overcoming major health issues. And they're using these methods to learn something they've never done before and to overcome major challenges. So what's nice about the quantum, life, it's really life performance type thing, is you learn everyone has gifts and everyone has greatness, but most people haven't taken the time to unveil them and to tap into them and to discover them. And then if they do have those talents, but what are they doing? What's blocking them of getting to the levels of their goals? That's where we have to build the success blueprint for that.
All right, now, Dr. Joy, let's look at this quantum performance as a tool on your table. Now, you have a young Michael Jordan, the Williams sisters.
Sister, oh gosh, yeah.
They're not yet where they are today. They're still little, yet they haven't found the superpower that they're going to have. And you know that they have the superpower. Tell me how you're going to work them up to be able to assume what they're going to become.
A lot of it is you develop confidence and confidence in themselves, because you develop the confidence. Like a good example is with the Williams sisters when they came to our Macci Academy from Compton. If you saw the movie Kim Richard, where the Williams moved from Compton, their home, to our Macci International Tennis Academy in Florida. And what was amazing when they got off of the bus, you saw light up their smiles, their gratefulness. I mean, they're an amazing family. But what was so neat to see is them develop through the years and the amazing leaders and legends that they really have become today. But what they've done is develop their full skills. One thing their father, Richard, was very good about is in addition to the tennis training, that also making sure they were, experienced in working on their school, working on their other areas, and things like that. Because when you're working in sports, you don't just train you teach the mind, the body, the sport, the spirit. You've got to, it's a unified type program that you're working on developing. So you have to teach people how to win from the inside out. And that's where they develop their competence, their confidence. They understand how to overcome conflict. And then, learning resilience and bouncing back. And this is what we do when we go through like the quantum program that I'm doing. We have first, it was the quantum reset, which I took you through the breath, thing, which was your state control. The second pillar of it is the vision reset. So many people don't realize when you focus on one thing too narrowly, you lose the big picture. A great example is in tennis, or in pickleball is a good example. If most players have been told, watch the ball, The problem is when you only watch the ball, a majority of the brain gets bored and shuts down. That's the neuroscience of it. But if you keep open vision, where you're aware of the ball, your opponent, the net, your position, the background, all of those things, the brain stays alive and active. Now let's carry this into the boardroom. If you focus so narrowly on the problem, you get stuck instead of taking a more what is called open, soft vision. Then you can understand what's coming from the different angles. You understand the position of a player that's about to hit a shot, but you can read before they hit the shot the angle of their shoulder, their angle of their paddle, which if you're just looking at the ball, you will not see. So that's where learning to get open vision in life and to look at the different areas of things, broadening your thing. When you drive, a good thing you do it each and every day. When you're driving your car, you don't just look at the car in front of you. You keep a span. You want to see if cars are coming, someone's changing lanes. That is what your open vision is. You want to learn to carry that in more areas of your life because when you do, a majority of your brain is awakened and active. When you focus on one narrow thing, that's when your pressure increases, and that's when a majority of your brain shuts down because it gets bored.
I love
It goes,
that. I
interesting.
love that. All right, Dr. Joy, tell me something. How much of our brain do we really use since we are talking about the quantum performance? An
Yeah.
average person, how much of his or her brain is actually
Oh my
in
gosh.
practice use?
Most people use maybe 5 to 7%. I like that. This is where what you want to learn to do is to train a majority of your brain. But to do that, you have the different skills that you want to work. It's like when you are doing something, most of the time when you do something, if you're right-handed, you do things with your right hand. But if you're right-handed, then your left brain is active. What's happening to the right brain? So that's where a lot of times what we do with people is get people to use both hands. If use your non-dominant as a warm-up, different things, so that you stimulate the other part of the brain. Then you use your normal dominant. Then you have both sides of the brain functioning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I mean, you can go any direction now.
No, it is. Well, but it's a lot of when you stay fully plugged in. It was interesting. I was listening to and was a talk by one of them, Harvard psychologist. Her name is Langer, and she was talking. Most people are mindless or mindfulness, and what I so agree with her was most people live mindlessly. They don't really stay all the way plugged in. But it's like when you get fully plugged in, when you're in the moment, as you're listening on this show, you're listening to your guest, you're trying to analyze the situation. Okay, what's the next question? What are you doing? That's your being mindful. And most people go through and they're partially plugged. As I kind of, what's fun with some of my students, I say, is your toaster plugged in? I mean, if you want to toast a bagel, you've got to plug in the toaster before you put the bagel in. It's the same way in life. Are we fully plugged in? Are we partially plugged in? Are you mindless? Are you mindful? And that's where learning, whenever you want to excel in an area of life, you've got to be fully plugged in.
So it appears that what you are telling me now is that we really have this potential that we carry, and sometimes we don't even use it at all. Is that out of ignorance? Is it because we don't know that our brain, that we have the power to tap into?
No, I think a lot of it is we just is the awareness. You know what I mean? It's like when you're in the moment, fully aware are you? How much are you really aware? And most people don't realize they're just going through the motions. When you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, how much do you really think about that? Probably not that much. Or you make your bed or whatever you do, the different things in life, or you make your coffee. Is that just a mindless movement because it's something you've done in the past? It's something you're really, ooh, what does that cup feel like? Ooh, the coffee's pouring in. Ooh, how high is the coffee going? How much is your brain really empowered at that moment? Or is it just on what you would say on cruise control? Most people go on cruise control in a majority of their life. But you see the people that are peak performing in different areas, or at times, none of us are all peak performance all the time. It would be nice if we were, but you know what I mean? But when you want to perform at your very high best, You've got to be fully, fully plugged in, fully alert, fully activated, both sides of the brain working. That's what you want to do to achieve your.
All right.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Joy, what we have done now is the first part that we call the N, because in the Obehi podcast we use a three-part framework that we call NBA: now, before, and after. So
Mhm.
we have talked about the now. We know what you do, who you do it for, and also why you do it. But we need to go a little bit deeper. We want to
Okay.
understand you, the before. So, what can you tell us about yourself before you became who you are today?
Oh my gosh. I've always been someone who wants to continually learn. I have a passion for learning. It's like, how do I learn and grow? It's a lot with my clients. How do I help them the most? And to me, the more that I learn, the more I can give and share. From learning from the life threatening head injury that you have to overcome. When you go from being an elite athlete to almost handicapped, and you had to rebuild life. I learned at the different levels what you have to do to rebuild and bounce back. And that's where, when other people are going through challenges, a great example is one of my students right now. She was a competitive mountain biker, a major accident, and have 7 surgeries. She has to have her left shoulder taped in for her lessons. I mean, it's just to stay in the socket. The right hand, she had a blender accident and lost the third finger. And now she's playing pickleball and having a blast. So she has her husband who's battling stage 4 cancer. She's dealing with all of these issues. The shoulder has to be put into place. The right hand is nothing else that is going through major issues. And here's a very life. One thing that brings her a little life and energy and joy is the pickleball, that's just fun for her. And that brings life back to her. You know what I mean? And that's where we learn there's so many ways that even in our biggest challenge, and this is where you learn to thrive under challenges. That's what I had to learn to bounce back, from a head injury and not knowing who I was, where I was, and then what my weight was 98 pounds, and then trying to rebuild life and coordination and timing. This is where you have to learn to step back. But what's nice is when you don't just bounce back, you bounce forward. Because what is neat, you see that wonderful woman. I'll tell you, her first name is Cindy. I'm so proud of her because all she's overcoming and all she's doing, and has a big smile on the face. And you learn to embrace life when you have major challenges facing you each and every day, but you have a smile on your face and you live life to the fullest and you find joy in the journey. What life is all about. And that's where one's
Joy.
working. And yes, exactly. The joy of life. You know what I mean? And that's it's fun for me to live, give, and share my name. You know what I mean? That's receiving a letter from
Absolutely.
a
Absolutely.
client that in the tennis world, but I was also business coaching. And then he was came back and says, "Oh my gosh, I want you to know that the lessons that you taught me so much in all areas." And that's, to me, is what it's all about. It's not so much about me. It's how do you help others be their best? What's the fun in life? That's the legacy you want to leave. Not what we get, but what we give in life that's most important.
That is powerful. That is powerful and also
Yeah.
motivating. All right, now I'm curious, Dr. Joy.
Yeah.
How was Dr. Joy as a little girl? Tell me about that.
Oh, a little girl. Okay, I was born and raised in a small town in Arkansas. Was raised single-handed by my mom. My dad was a permanently disabled veteran that was permanently in the Veterans Hospital in Topeka, Kansas. He was in World War II. He was a hero, but mentally had to then permanently be put in there. So my mom single-handedly raised our whole family. It was the surprise of the family. Mom was 40 years old in 1960 when she had me, and that was kind of unheard of at that day and time. And my older brother and sister are 12 and 14 years older. But my mom and I were like best friends. She was an amazing woman. She's graduated to heaven at the age of 93. But my goal is to carry on her love and legacy. But the neat thing on that is to learning from a small town. Tennis was kind of something that opened my door. I would spend hours hitting against the carport garage. And finally went and played with some of the adult men, and they kind of liked, they said, "Gosh, you're pretty good." Okay. And so I had fun with that. And then I went to a campus called John Newcomb's Tennis Ranch. John Newcomb was like number one in the world. He was from Australia. He was a great, and I was selected for their international tour team. But our family didn't have that much money, you know. And what was so nice was one of the gentlemen would fly in about once a month to play with me, his wealthy buddies, to sponsor me on the international tour. So that was, the gift of giving from someone that had helped. And that's what I've learned in life. If I can help give that to others, if you can always give life, give encouragement, give skills to others, then it multiplies that.
Absolutely. It multiplies. It multiplies.
Yeah, it does. And it was like a little girl.
does.
Tennis opened up the world to me. I was grateful for that. And now I want to open up the world. Sports can open up people's lives, not just in the sports world, but in their personal relationships, their business, and that. We use play and fun and the joy of that to empower life.
Was there anything that you were particularly curious about as a little girl growing up?
Particularly curious. Well, tennis was kind of that, tennis was fun because they were the heroes. That was the Chris Everts, the Jimmy Connors, all of those, seeing the superstars and things like. But it's like, but also I was watching the Olympic athletes. What I've always been drawn to is who are the best of the best. You look at the Olympic gold medalists, you look at the Grand Slam champions, you look at the brilliant business leaders that make a difference in the world. And you go, God, what is it that makes the top 1%? So that was a little bit of passion. What are the top 1% doing? And how do you learn to do that and help others become their top one? And that's kind of what life passion through the years has evolved.
Is it possible that you could have a vision that this was a trajectory that you were going to embark on while you were still growing up?
I think I've always had from a young girl, was always a passion, whether it was in the tennis, whether it was a little girl dancing, whether it was in school or whatever. I had to be my best. And then the life-threatening head injury that I shared with you was my big changing point that really changed everything. Going from an elite athlete to going to an elite coach that helps others be their best person in sports business and life. So that was more the evolution of my thing. It's like you going from being the superstar to helping others become their superstar. And it's like I learned the lesson is when you learn to give, you start to live. And what you're giving, it could be love, it could be encouragement, it could be knowledge, it could be wisdom, it could be just, surrounding others with an opportunity to be their best or to discover their best or allow others to have the time to grow into what they become, like a butterfly, to go from the little cocoon to the beautiful butterfly or the eagle.
These people that you are shaping to become better using your powerful methodology, the quantum performance. Is there any way that they remind you of a little you, of you growing up, of your vision, of your passion?
Yes. You'll see little sparks of that. You can see, you'll see someone overcome and achieve their best thing and go, yes, I did it. Or gosh, I now believe in myself. And you go, that's a flashback to when I was a kid finding is like identity and self-worth and self-confidence and self-confidence. It's just like you see that, or remind you of other students. It's like I remember the hours of spending time with Andy Roddick when I was coaching him at the Macci Academy. It's like he was 10 years old and he was wanting to be the best and things like that. And one of his favorite things was to hit an overhead that would bounce in the court and then bounce over the back fence. Then later he went on to develop one of the fastest serve in the world at 153 miles an hour. You know what I mean? But it's like you see the growth and the evolution and the drive, and you see the spark in somebody. And what's fun for me is finding that spark, helping build that spark in others. And when you're working with different students, you see the sparks start, shimmering a little bit here and there. And that's what to me is fun. How do you nurture that spark to become a flame? And then they grow into the greatness and the eagle wings to fly to their highest levels. And that's the fun part of the journey. You see at different stages that.
All right. Okay, Joy. Now, this is what I am thinking, that doing this work is not going to be easy. because you are sort of reconditioning the behavior of the people. So it's going to be hard for the people, and I'm sure it's also going to be hard for you as you do it. Why do you do this?
Because I care about people. I think life is a gift, and the gift is the most we give to others. And what it's learning to have performance under pressure, because everyone has to deal with pressure. And that kind of goes to the third pillar of the quantum, performance solution, is the idea of the pressure reset. What do you do when you've got that major challenge? Something big happens that you feel like you're going to crumble. It could be a health issue. It could be relationship breaking up. It could be being fired from the job. It could be losing a major Grand Slam tournament, or, some different things like that. When you've got the major things, what do you do? What I want to teach people to do is what I call the pressure reset. Remember, BBCC. First B is one of the most important, which we learned from the first quantum reset, is breathe. Take a deep breath in, hold it. And when you exhale longer than you inhale and hold, that calms the nervous system. When you calm the nervous system, you start to learn how to deal with situations. You wonder what the Navy SEALs do when they're facing major challenging issues. They've got to learn how to breathe and train their brain to stay calm under pressure. So number one is the breathe. B is your body. What are you doing? What are your shoulders, your head? Most people will slump when they've got something. If you get the shoulder out, like for the sports people, or the things I would say, put your pickleball paddle in your opposite hand, shoulders up, head up, bristly back. And then do your CC. The two C's, command and create. And what the command is, next shot. What the create is, best shot. What you learn to do is next shot. It could be the next shot, could be in your business venture, the next shot in your life adventure, the next shot of your health, challenges. The best shot is where you visualize the next, the ideal of what you want to do in advance. Immediately get your brain from the negative pity party into the power state. If you go next shot, and the second thing you visualize your best shot, boom, I'm going to do this next. Ooh, that one deal fell apart, but ooh, I'm going to get a bigger deal right here. Or one but something, I can work this through. This is where next shot in sports, business, and life, you can use that to all of those areas. So remember, BBCC, you handle performance under pressure. Was pillar 3.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Now, I want to believe that since you mentioned hero a number of times, you do have hero within the sport industry, or within the one that you're mostly focusing on. Can you list 3 of your best hero that you maybe sometimes use to give example to your students, to the people that you are training? And why are these your hero? Can you please explain that?
It's a great question. Heroes. There's so many heroes in life. You look at someone like in the sports or in the spiritual aspect, I look like someone like a Gandhi or a Mother Teresa. You look at people that did the biggest challenges and they overcome and do it for the right cause. That, and Jesus, myself being a Christian, it's like you get that aspect. You get in the business world, your leaders that done things at a high level for the right cause. I like Richard Branson is a great example. Is like he's done things his way, but created things and been brilliant in what he has done in the different areas. You look in the sports world, there's a lot of sports heroes. It depends the different sports. One of the all-time ones everyone has loved is the Michael Jordans. He's cut from his high school basketball team that goes on to be one of the greatest of all times. There are other great basketball, but in their tennis world, I've got a lot of tennis, different ones. But it's like you look at someone like, oh my God, there's so many, like a Steffi Graf, but you look at her class and elegance through. You look at But then to see the growth of someone like a Serena and Venus, to see them from like the little chickens to the eagles, you know what I mean, is so beautiful to see the evolution of what they're doing, not just on the tennis court, but in the business world and in community and philanthropy. Look at someone right now, like a Coco Gauff. Look how she's giving back to so many people in different things. That's the beauty of when you see how sports and business and life in the different areas, the people are the leaders. You look at another great coach was like a Tony Robbins. It inspired so many people to be their best at the highest levels. This is where you look at people great as the people that learn to rise others to their best. What it's really all about for all of us. That's what the top 1% do.
Powerful.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really powerful. Yeah, we'll have heroes. We'll have people that we are looking up to, and that is
Yeah.
the way it should
And
be.
learn from,
Because
look
if
up
we
to
don't
and
do
learn
that,
from. Yes. Hmm.
absolutely. Otherwise, we might have the wrong impression that we are just the number one. We are just starting. No, we are in a long queue of stories. So
Hmm.
there are others that are before us. So we are standing on the shoulder of giants, so we can see far ahead of us. That is always true. How do you move from sport to business in coaching or trading? Could you tell me what is the transition? Because when you were explaining the quantum performance, my question was, what if we could apply this also in business? So the moment you say you also coach business executive, I say, okay, that is something now. Could you tell me the transition?
What's funny, it's like human performance. And this is where when you get human performance accelerator, that it's and you use it in all areas of life. That's why I was getting a Mother's Day card from one of my students saying that. It's how it's like when it was fun when I was training him, he got fired from one job. And I encouraged him, I says, no problem. You'll get hired and get much more pay in another job very soon. Within 2 weeks, he had a new job, bigger and more aligned for that. It's some more challenges. And what's fun is allowing people when they've got challenges to be calm under pressure and look forward to creating something even bigger and better than what their challenges are. And the challenges could still be staying within their own company, doing their own thing, but what are the ways to work around it to be better? It kind of evolves back to my first book, Serendipity of Success, where I talk about the superstar success secrets and how each and every person has their own personal success system built within them. And with that is the TFE success. The first T is technique. And the key to technique in any areas of life, let's say you're working in business, is simplicity is the key to victory. What is the most important thing? If you look at a target, you have the red and white rings and whatever. I always tell my clients, I said, the key thing you've got to focus on is the bullseye. How do you master the bullseye? White rings and red rings don't really matter that much, but if you can master the bullseye, you have the whole. So, number one, technique. Simplicity is the key to how do you do less to get more? Not to be lazy, but to master the most important. The F is fitness. Yes, it's physical fitness, but it's also physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual fitness. It's the whole fitness angle. What do you do to get totally fit? The different areas. You might be very good in one area, but you have a couple areas that you're a little bit weak in, and you want to strengthen that to get fit. Okay. Next, EF is strategy. What do most elite level people do? The superstars in business and sports and life. Do they work on their weaknesses or do they maximize? Most people are taught, you've got to fix your weakness. Here's what you do. And most people put a majority of their time into fixing their weaknesses, but never develop their God given strengths to their full potential. And that's where I encourage people to put 70% of their time into maximizing their strengths and 30% into minimizing their weaknesses. Because if you maximize your strength, you develop your confidence and confidence to work through the weaknesses. And the final of the 4 steps of the TFSP is the P is the positive mindset. That is the glue that works through everything. It's kind of like what I love about Nelson Mandela. He's a hero, I would say, of one of my, on that aspect. He went from going from prison to presidency, and he had the heart and the mind of that. And he said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. I like to kind of change that a little more. I say, I always win, either win or I learn. So if you lose something or you're challenged, what do you learn from it? If you learn something from it, you get better because of it.
Talking about learning, what do you think is holding back many executive or business owner from leveraging the infinite power that they have, looking again at your quantum performance?
Well, it's like, again, keeping the soft eyes and looking at the really big perspective. Oh, sorry, you're okay. There you go. Got you back in. It was kind of a little bit behind delayed. I think keeping what I say, the soft eyes in the big vision. When you keep the soft eyes, you're able to adapt, react to what's coming at you, but also to create the next level of what you want to create. If you are stuck into the problem or the challenge, your focus gets narrowed, your tension rises, and a lot of times most people get paralyzed with that, whether they're physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, or they want to give up. And that's where when you can keep the open vision and the creator champion mindset versus that it's like the winner or the wimp. If you want to be a winner, you've got to learn how to step to the plate. If you're a wimp, you're going to back down. It depends on what you want to be. So you've got to learn to work through that, get that champion winner mindset, the inner winner way versus giving way. What's the challenges that are faced?
Thank you for that. Only for the sake of time, would I be able to touch on your books? But just on a last note, tell the people how to find your books. Of course, maybe we can come back another episode to explore your books and get the value out of that. But tell the people how to find your books and how to connect with you.
Okay. Well, pretty much the books, a majority are on Amazon. That books in the bookstores and different things like that. The new book that I have coming out is the Quantum Pickleball book on Train the Brain. But what's fun about this book, it can be carried to all areas of life. It's not just sports and pickleball alone. It can be carried to all areas of life. And about that, that's going to probably be coming out this next month. We're very excited about that. And to contact me, I would say the best, I'm on the LinkedIn or the Facebook type things, or I will give my email, Dr. Joy, DRJO, Joy of Quantum Sports, UANTUM sports.com.
Dr. Joy, it has been a pleasure talking with you. This episode has really been full of beautiful, beautiful ideas. I really want to thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.